As we continue to get our houses in order, we all must continue to grow in the knowledge of Yah and continue to seek out His will for our life. It is important for us to grow in understanding of Him and learn to not lean on our own understandings that may come from different influences that are not based upon the foundation that the scriptures have laid. If we really want to understand Yahuwah, we have to read the scriptures. We have to make His word our foundation. And you know what? A statement like that normally cannot get much pushback in the Christian church. I've not come across one Christian that would ever argue with me about the importance of reading the scriptures and making the word our foundation. I've never met one. I don't think there is a preacher in any of these Protestant Christian churches that would be so bold to go against that statement. But here's the irony and the hypocrisy. Though I couldn't find one pastor to go against that statement, it is even harder to find pastors and church organizations that make that activity the foundation of their ministry. Now, that statement may throw some people off, so let me be clear that when I say this, I am speaking about reading the whole Bible, and making the whole Bible our foundation, not just the New Testament. I know I can find plenty of churches that promote the reading of the New Testament, but the Bible is not just the New Testament. It is a compilation of books that contains what people refer to as the Old Testament and the New Testament. I have stated in other videos that I do not like the label of Old and New Testament. For me personally, after reading the whole Bible, based on what I have read, I would label it as maybe the first covenant and then the renewed covenant. But more than likely, I wouldn't even split it up that way at all. You can divvy up and organize the scriptures in a better way than just by the covenants. The Sefer does a good job with that. This is how they divide it. More on the Sefer later though. The point I am making is that the entire Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, all books in between, and that includes the Apocrypha, all these books are important to read, study, and gather understanding from. You cannot read the New Testament first and believe you have understanding. The complete Bible must be read, and you must understand that there is actually a culture within the organized church today that does not believe this. They don't even hide this. A few weeks back, I stumbled upon this man who carries the title of a pastor. This pastor, he was speaking to a Rev 29 Jewish rabbi on the topic of Black Hebrew Israelites after that whole Kyrie Irving thing and when IUIC marched on the Barclays Center. This guy talking vexed me. He's a sellout, and listening to his completely inaccurate explanations were frustrating and provoking. But I got through it, and towards the end of the video, he made this statement in regards to what he feels the problem is with the Hebrew Israelites. And after you listen to this man named Pastor Dumasani Washington, I want you to then think about the arrogance a man like this can have and understand that this is what the majority of the Christian church follows. They just don't admit it so confidently as this man is about to do. Listen to what he says.
The message.
Yes, right. And we as men of the cloth, right, we always want to make it relevant, right? And we always, Rabbi, we have to kind of balance making it relevant to at the same time being true to the text, right? Yeah. Being true to the actual, what my Jewish friends call the Peshat, right? What was the actual meaning here? How do we actually do this? That way we still at least stay true to what we believe, right? And so what you're doing now, for example, so for these young Black men who are on social media, which has like been the main fuel of this, or you're walking down the street and you see these guys dressed in what I call bad holiday costumes. I mean, they have their things on, they're preaching. But here's the problem, Rabbi. They're reading Joel, Zephaniah, Zechariah, Habakkuk. They're reading prophets that by and large in the Christian church today, those books don't even exist, right? We pastors, we read Malachi to tell people to pay their tithes. Other than that, we don't have any use for Malachi, right? And this is what's going on. So they're reading these scriptures. First of all, he's reading something I didn't even know was in my Bible, right? Secondly, now he's misinterpreting it, but he already has his foot in the door because he showed me where it says, and he's showing me things like Egypt and Ethiopia. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 12, he said that from the four corners of the earth, and he's naming these African and Middle Eastern lands. It's right there in the scriptures, right? I'm going, wow, I'd never even seen this before, right? So now I'm bringing this back to a pastor who may or may not know these things. If he can't give me a legit answer, that's another reason why I'm going over to here to this thing.
Yeah, you heard him correct. He said these books don't exist in the Christian church.
Yeah. Habakkuk. They're reading prophets that by and large in the Christian church today, those books don't even exist, right?
He said besides using Malachi to tell people to pay their tithes, they don't even have a use for Malachi.
We pastors, we read Malachi to tell people to pay their tithes. Other than that, we don't have any use for Malachi, right?
And you know that's true. He said the Israelites are reading stuff that he didn't even know was in his Bible.
And this is what's going on. So they're reading these scriptures. First of all, he's reading something I didn't even know was in my Bible. Right?
And then the next statement, he says that the Israelites are misinterpreting it.
Right? Secondly, now he's misinterpreting it. But
think of this arrogance. And this is exactly what we face as a majority in modern day Christianity. In one breath, the man can say he didn't even know the Bible said certain things, but then in the next breath, he says it's being misinterpreted. How can people make a claim like that when they know they haven't diligently studied the scriptures? It's mainly because what they want to view Yahuwah as, this is what they base the scriptures on. It's based upon their feelings and not about what the actual Bible says. The Bible is a complete book that a majority of Christian churches are not reading. But yet these people are taking the role and title as pastors, leading flocks, even though they are not reading this complete book. But yet they are out here teaching about it and making themselves men of authority in regards to the scriptures. They are teaching about a book that they have partially read, and they have developed and encouraged a culture of arrogance and pride, of feeling like you can understand Yah and his will without actually reading and studying to show yourself approved. All these books in the scriptures are important. And if you want a better relationship with the Most High, you have to read the scriptures. So what we must do is be the better example and show people a better way, the right way. I don't want to be one to keep saying, read your Bible, without helping you understand how to. The most important activity you can do right now is the reading of the scriptures and applying it to your life and your worldview, making his ways and his will the foundation of your life. And again, the only way you can do this is by reading the scriptures. So I want to help you with this. We are going to discuss how to read the Bible and what exactly is in it. Let's begin. Okay, so let's first talk about which Bible to read. For me personally,